Guess what? It's springtime. You see that? There's no snow. And you see behind me? That's a Goldwing. It's got stuff on it. I'm going for a ride. It's been a great couple days, and that's all great, but here's something to think about. You ever crashed? I've crashed. And yeah, it wasn't fun. But I'm going to tell you about it today. Maybe we can talk this out, maybe get you thinking about it. So maybe, you know, when you're out on the ride and that nice spring day, it doesn't end in a crash, but it ends in a nice ride back to your house. Have a nice cold beer, whatever beverage of your choice, and all is well. But anyways, we're going to cut the music now. Hello everyone, you're with Richard here at SOAT Motorcycle Blog. We're back in riding season, that's good. We've gotten some good riding in this week. The snow is gone. There's a chance a little bit tonight, but honestly I think the worst of it is behind us. I think we're getting into spring. Summer's going to be around the corner, so that's a good thing. Now talking about summer here, well, one thing when you start riding season, of course, you haven't been on a bike for a few months, and of course, you figure if that's the case, well, there's bigger chance of accidents. And actually, I want to tell you today about an accident I had several years ago. I think it's important to take accidents actually, let's just stop that right there. I'm calling them accidents. They're not accidents. They're crashes. There is no accident. I truly believe that. It's a crash. So, anyways, we're going to talk about a crash I had several years ago, but go ahead and we'll go inside and we'll take a look on the computer. Alright, so let's take a look at the crash. I apologize, this is using my computer screen, so this isn't the best way to do this, but this is what I got. So I'm coming up down the line here, and actually there's a few spots down. It was more like about here, but basically, so what I had two open spots here, and then there was cars in every other spot. So I'm thinking, great, that's a pull-through spot. I don't have to back up. I'd only had the Goldwing for about 6 months this time, so I was thinking, you know what, I got a pull-through spot. I ain't got to back up. I ain't got to use a reverse or anything like that. So we'll take advantage of that. Well, in the meantime, there was a van right here, and they were basically driving through the parking lot, what you would. I'm sitting there waiting. Well, they're just taking forever to go. They will not go. They're still moving, driving, and it's like, so I'm sitting there waiting, and well, finally they get by me enough where I think, well, all right, here we go, get in here. And well, as I got behind them, I hear the clunk of the gearbox. And let me tell you, they obviously didn't believe in the whole, put it in reverse and look behind you. It was clunk. I could see the reverse lights in the corner of my eye, and then all of a sudden they're coming. So I give it throttle to get by them, and unfortunately I did not get by them. I actually was probably maybe 6 inches from clearing them. But here's what happened. So essentially, basically it knocked me over, and actually it knocked me into this other vehicle. Don't worry, the license plates have changed now, so if you're trying to exploit that plate, well, it's an old license plate. But that's basically how it ended up looking. Right into the front of that vehicle. You can actually see the little scratch right there. That's the front end. Another one of the front. Okay, so this is what happened. This is the leftovers, just basically at the end. So, of course, we got the mirror scratched. We got that little dent right there on the wing. It's not terribly noticeable. It cracked up this light a little bit, put a nice little scuff on that saddlebag. That's why you'll see it's got the new style Aspen gate on it now. as opposed to the old one, because I ended up actually buying it off a guy who worked for a dealership, and basically they had trikes, basically tons of them lying around from converting trikes. So basically we were all good there. Well, you've seen we've described the crash. I will tell you, after it happened, I lost confidence for a while. It was basically the point I was thinking maybe buying my motorcycle was a bad idea. Maybe I should have stayed with my V-Star. Maybe it was too big for me. Maybe I couldn't handle it. I mean, 2 days later, I dropped the bike in my garage. I mean, I was really starting to question my confidence, and it took a while to get that back. It actually was another incident where it wasn't a crash, and the reason it wasn't a crash because I successfully maneuvered and avoided it, and that actually is what got my confidence back several months later in Colorado. That's a story we're going to talk about for another day. But basically, I learned from that, I still had skills for success on the motorcycle, and they weren't gone because of the crash. It was just it was a deal. It just really sucked, and it shouldn't have happened, and I think it was preventable. But some other things I learned is, like, right in the parking lot, I always have a turn signal on now. That was a big thing, because that was one of the comments the driver of that van made, when they were talking to the cop, of course, was, oh, well, he didn't have his turn signals on. Whatever, just stupid excuse. However, I use them all the time now. That way, if something like that happens again, and someone says, well, they didn't have their turn signal on, I can say, well, that's a load of BS, because I did have mine on. But parking lots, I learned parking lots are not a good spot to be. They're actually, I think, it's an area where you easily let your guard down. Because honestly, what's everybody looking for in a parking lot? They're looking for a parking spot. They're not thinking about driving or anything else. And everybody, including me and everyone, anybody that's on a vehicle in the parking lot, they're not thinking about, you got to drive defensively, you got to watch out for people. And this goes for you pedestrians too. You should watch out when you're in the parking lot, okay? Don't just go darting out. Maybe you should make sure that car stops before you do that. But anyways, that's beside the point. But basically, after that, I really had struggled with trust of any vehicles on the road. I think that's a good thing, especially when you're on a motorcycle. You should have really no faith in other vehicles, because honestly, if they mess up and you're in the way, it's a lot worse for you than if you're in a car. If you're in your car, well, you know what, it's a dent and some insurance there. It's like, well, you could very well get your life taken from you. So, but and with that is, being vigilant all the time. Always be vigilant. And also I learned you can do everything right, or think you do everything right. You can do everything right for years. But all it takes is one mistake. There's one incident where I got impatient, and we've seen what happened. Fortunately, nothing terrible happened. Fortunately, it wasn't out on the road. It was all low speed. It basically just a couple body dents and some hurt pride. That was it. A little confidence shaken. It was nothing else. So, that's, like I said, it just takes a couple seconds of you getting impatient and it's all over. But the other thing, forgive me for going through my notes, but, was it preventable? I absolutely think it was. I got impatient. Simple as that. I got absolutely impatient. I had tunnel vision. Basically, I was worried about that parking spot. And basically it clouded my judgment. If I waited and not rushed, wouldn't happen. If I just would have waited 5 seconds, let that van, or hell, even a second, and let that van get in reverse and figure out their thing, it wouldn't happen. And yes, it is true, the van was really stupid. You get in there and you throw it in reverse and you automatically gun it. That is really stupid. And you shouldn't do that. So in your car, before you back out anywhere, maybe look. Ease out. Because if in the end, if they ease out and someone's coming, at least they got a chance to slow down. If you just gun it out, it's just a crash. So, think about that when you're also even in your regular cars and pickups. And yeah, it's true, they really mess up. But here's the problem. If I wouldn't have been impatient, I would have not been in that situation. So yes, this crash could absolutely have been prevented by myself. And that's my thoughts on it. And honestly, you're not going to get me to change my mind on that, because I think back of all those that, yeah, I should have known better. But I guess one big thing you take away is you shouldn't stop riding. But basically, bad things can happen anytime, no matter your skill, your experience. Like I said, I'm not trying to scare anyone who wants to ride from doing it. I think riding's good. But and I'm also not going to be that bitter guy that sits around and goes, well, it's not if you crash, it's when. And I also think that's the wrong attitude. Yes, sometimes they happen, but there's steps you can take. I think saying it's not if, but when, that just sets a bad attitude, and that makes you think that you can do nothing to prevent it, which is total horse. You know what? But I still think about that crash. Especially at that Culver's parking lot. I love Culver's, no offense to Culver's, but, every time I'm in that lot, that's always the first thing I think of. But I think about what I learned, and I think about what I can do to help prevent these accidents, and that's why I'm bringing it to you today. But one final thing I think people need to understand is you need to change your thinking on crashes. Just change it right now. When you're on Facebook, you see a video title, Cager hits stupid biker, or something like that. Before you judge the cager or the car driver, pickup driver, take a serious look about things that the biker could have done. Because a lot of those videos you'll see, yep, the cager messes up, but if the biker would have had about 2 more seconds of patience or been just a little bit patient, they wouldn't have been in that situation. So, my goal in the end is just do the things to not be in the way of the cager that's going to run you over, But take some serious looks on those videos. See what things bikers could have done to prevent it. I do that quite a bit. I'll go and look at those, and I'll see, try to find ways of, how could he have prevented it, and then use that in my writing. It's just like Tom Brady reviewing game film, and just watching it over and over. I kind of do. I'm not that adamant about it, but I always look at those and try to analyze them, and it's just a matter of what can I learn from people's mistakes, so I don't make those. I think if you take this attitude into watching some of those ways, it's really going to open up your thinking. But anyways, ride safe, my friends. We'll see you next time. Also, a special thank you to Mike for being Sodak Motorcycle Blog YouTube page's first subscriber. And you can subscribe too by going to our YouTube link. I'm going to put a link somewhere in the comments here. We're just going to point because it all depends on what system you're running as where that link's going to be. But like us on Facebook, tell your friends about us. Go ahead and subscribe to us on Facebook. And we'll see you after a while with another video. Thanks.